So we wanted to just kind of have a little Q&A with Andrew this morning, just to give full transparency into what's going on in downtown Bentonville. I know there's a lot of questions about events, farmers market, First Friday.
And if you have any of those answers, I would really appreciate them, because it's something that we've been struggling with a lot, as is everybody out there. When is the appropriate time to start to open up, do more things downtown on the square? It's actually something that has kept me up at night, because we don't want to prematurely have an event downtown and then all of a sudden, we have a negative reaction to that, or we have a negative outcome. So we've been working a lot with our city officials. We've been talking to some medical officials, really the professionals in their fields, to see when is an appropriate time. This year has just been really crazy. Nobody expected what we had. I was just praying that we weren't going to have the same type of year this year that we had last year with all the rain. It rained every single First Friday, and we actually started calling it flash flood First Fridays. And lo and behold, we have something extremely different this year that we're dealing with.
Yes, and I want to ask you, we have a lot of questions from people that have submitted questions. You can also submit questions during this live chat, and I'll take a look at them in a second and ask some of them to Andrew as well. But I've talked to a lot of the local businesses down here about what the last 3 months has been like for you, and I want to ask from a DBI perspective what that's been like, so that people are aware of kind of what you guys have been doing.
So we really had to, and I don't like the word pivot because everybody's using the word pivot right now, but we really did have to pivot pretty quickly. When we started noticing that things were shutting down, that this was going to be a much larger issue than just, a real brief illness to kind of sweep across the country, but this was going to be a pandemic and last a while, we put all of our resources that we normally put into organizing events into supporting the downtown. So we started to use our social media to support the businesses and to get the word out there that businesses were open, and that you could still shop online, you could get delivery, you could do curbside. We switched our advertising mechanism, so our social media switched over, our billboards that we have that we advertise on started switching over to messages of hope and inspiration, while also trying to promote the local businesses. Because if we don't have the local businesses downtown, then really there's no, I would go as far to say there's no need for a Downtown Bentonville Inc. Because we exist to kind of lift up the downtown community, the businesses, the families, the organizations that work down here. So if we start to see all these shops close up because they can't sustain themselves by going dark for a couple months, then we haven't done our job. So we're just really focused on that right now. How can we support the downtown businesses, and what can we do to help them make the revenue that they need during this time?
I'm going to give Lynn Hancock at Yoga Story a shout out, because I spoke to her yesterday, and the description she gave, I said, what's it like to be a small business owner downtown? And she said, it's like hitting a brick wall and then hitting it again and again.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of innovating going on, a lot of pivoting, and a lot of surviving.
Yes.
And so that's where you guys have stepped in and really done a good job of getting that word out.
Survival mode is really kind of what everybody's feeling right now. And that really wears on you after a while. I mean, some of us have been in survival mode for 3-4 months consistently every single day. And I don't want to say the woe is us DBI organization, because we're okay. We're a small staff. We have 4 people. We're cutting back on our expenses the best that we can. We're functioning. But I really do worry about those small shops and the restaurants that they need to not have revenue for a month. I can't imagine what that's going to do to their bottom line. And as everybody knows, it's not cheap to be downtown. No. Rent is expensive. And Dana, when you had your small business owner hat on, you researched and saw if you could get some space down here. And it's expensive, just your rent alone, and having to stress about how they're going to pay that this month. So yeah, it's been a stressful time.
So a lot of people have asked, we know that DBI does farmers market, and you have a modified farmers market. We haven't done a First Friday yet.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about modified farmers market and how that works, because there are questions out there about when does farmers market come back. So we want to make sure people are aware it is here, just in a different way.
So those have really been challenging for us, trying to figure out how we can plan ahead without really planning ahead. So one thing that we did was with a farmer's market, We ended up doing a drive-through model. Our farmers market manager, Stephanie, is really great at her job, and she had heard about a farmers market drive-through model taking place up in Springfield, Missouri. And she did a lot of research. She went up there, she visited with them, and she came back with this idea that we could have cars drive through a linear market. They would pass every single vendor, and they could buy the produce and all the things that they needed at that time. So we implemented that at the beginning of May, and it's been successful. We see about 350 to 400 cars a weekend. It's nowhere near the volume of what we were doing on the square. And for example, a good weekend down here may be, $4,000 or $5,000 for our vendors, where previously on the square you would be looking at $30,000 or $25,000. So yes, we're offering the opportunity for the public, for the community to get what they need, but our makers and our farmers are still not necessarily making what they need. So we would love to get back to the square, and we have a plan to come back to the square, but we don't know necessarily when we're going to be able to facilitate it. We can do social distancing. We can put in safety measures like hand washing stations. All of our vendors already wear masks, and they have hand washing at their tables. The big problem with the square is we can't control the flood of people. So because we can't mark off, we can't fence in the entire square, we can't keep us from having 1,000 people at one time or 2,000 people at one time. And that's really the biggest issue that we're dealing with right now, is how do we do population control at the events. So if any of you have some really great ideas on that, send them in to me, send them into our Facebook, and let us know. But once we feel comfortable that we can handle all of those issues, we will bring the market back to the square, and we'll get back to a normal farmers market the best that we can. It's the same issues with First Friday. Mm-hmm. Once we feel that we can control the crowd and put in some mechanisms in place that we can determine how many people are going to be here at one time, we'll bring the First Fridays back, because me and my team are just itching for it. We want to be out there just as much as the community wants to be out there. We want to be celebrating our diversity, our history, everything about what makes Bentonville so special. We want to get that back up and running, and it's just taking us time.
So yesterday you sent out an email, Andrew,
Mm-hmm.
and if people saw it in their inbox, take a second to check it out and click the link. But it's a survey that really helps you better understand the community sentiment about
Mm-hmm.
these large-scale events. And the results are interesting. So tell us a little bit about what you saw as far as the feedback.
It's exactly what I was expecting, almost, because of conversations that we've been having recently. So we're in constant communication with the city, with public safety, and with other partners in the community, the chamber, Visit Bentonville. We're always talking amongst each other. And there isn't a clear way forward, I would say. I mean, we all have plans once things start to improve, but we're still in that gray area. Well, we sent out this survey. We received 500 responses in one day, which I think is incredible. But they're almost exactly 50-50. So it's polar opposites, and it's not even like in the middle. It's,
right.
1, I really don't want it. 5, I really, really need it. And that's what we're getting. We're not getting a lot of 3s. We're not getting a lot of 4s and 2s. We're getting both sides of this issue. Where for every person that says, yes, I want to go back out there, let's do it, let's try it, there's somebody that says, please don't do it. It's not worth the potential risk. So I don't want to say the surveys aren't nearly shedding a light on it, because we're not basing our decisions just on public sentiment, but what the experts are saying. Another example of this is I happened to be at Northwest Medical yesterday, and I was talking to 2 RNs. Mm-hmm. And one RN said, yes, they would come to a First Friday event if we had it, wear their mask. They want to get out in the sunlight. They want to get with the community again. And another RN said, absolutely not. They're just not comfortable doing it right now. So there really is a divide. And that's what that's what keeps me up at night, is how do we find that divide. But for everybody who filled out the survey, I really appreciate it. And we're going to keep that survey up until Friday, and we'll have a link on our Facebook page to do that survey. Just like we've been trying to do a lot of contests downtown to get gift cards into the community, we're going to pick some random winners of this the survey and give you a gift card for taking the time to participate. So get those entries in, and you could win a gift card to a downtown business.
So Kaylin asks, when will Live at the Five and Dime be back, and when will Spark Cafe open? You know, if we could open that, I'd be there right now.
We would be there
eating ice
right
cream.
now.
We'd be live from there right now.
So we would be live from there right now. For those of you that don't know, Live at the Five and Dime is a partnership between DBI and the Walmart Museum and the University of Arkansas's music department. And every Wednesday evening during the summer months when it's warm, we have some musicians. Some professional musicians come out there from, I believe it's like 7 to 9 or 6 to 8. Walmart Museum, don't get mad at me if I forgot the times. But and we block the street off, and it's a great community time. People come out, they bring their lawn chairs, and they listen to some really great music. They grab some ice cream. So it's something that our community has grown to love the last 2 years that we've had it. Right now, we've switched over to a digital version. So Wednesday around the same time, we've been sharing a real quick clip of some musicians and playing, just to kind of keep us all on a brighter side and happier spirits. So the question is, when will it return? Just like everything else, it's a big question mark. Alan Drano over at the Walmart Museum is an incredible guy, and he's been working with his team to figure out a way that the Spark can open while maintaining social distancing, so that we can still go over there and grab some ice cream. You probably won't go inside. They'll probably have like an order window and a pickup window, and then you'll take your ice cream somewhere else. But one thing to keep in mind is that that's still a Walmart property. So until Walmart Home Office opens up again, until their business side, their corporate side of what they're doing, until that opens up, we probably won't see the Five and Dime and the Spark open up as well. Although I do know that they're working on a couple different ideas right now. But yeah, we can't wait. I haven't had Spark ice cream since February, and that is just really bad.
Yeah, my kids want that blue ice cream.
All down the front of them? Yeah.
I mean, we miss that.
But it tastes like vanilla, right? It's blue,
yes.
But it tastes like vanilla?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting.
All right, Lauren asks, and I'm going to ask this, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
Will the Christmas parade be daytime or nighttime? Lauren, one thing at a time.
So yeah, Christmas parade. Wow, you're really making me think far ahead. The Christmas parade is an incredible time for the community. It really is, and it's one of the most fun things that we do. We feel like we were really successful last year when we switched to a nighttime parade. It looked really cool, but we did get some feedback that for families with smaller kids, it was a little bit too late, and they couldn't really stand out there the entire time. So I think, Lauren, we're going to approach this from a hybrid version, and this is just, nothing is set in stone yet, but we may start a little earlier when it's a little bit like dusk. And have those participants who don't necessarily need the lights, and it doesn't need to be dark for. So maybe the marching bands and maybe some of the organizations that we have downtown can start marching when it's dusk, so that by the end of the parade, it is dark, and we can have all those pre-lit floats come through. And so we can do a little bit of a hybrid version, but we can end a little bit earlier so that those families with smaller kids can come out and enjoy.
I totally put you on the spot. First, we have to have public gatherings.
Yes, first this is an ABC step process, and we're still in like A right now.
All right, Ashton asked, will the farmers market stay pickup style for the rest of the year? I think we addressed that briefly, but just to make sure we weren't sideways while we were discussing
Yeah, if we were sideways, we apologize for that one. So Farmers Market, we offer right now, we have a Farmers Market app, and I would encourage all the listeners to go out there and download the Bentonville Farmers Market app from your app store, whether it's an Android or an Apple product. You can download from the apps, and this will allow you two options. Number one, you can do a pre-order to pick up on Thursday evenings. And we do pickups from 4 until 6 p.m. from our office. It is a curbside pickup, and you can get almost all the items that are offered on Saturdays. You can get them on Thursdays as well. Or you can do a pre-order for your Saturdays so that you don't need to stay in the car line at our drive-through market at Memorial Park over near Orchards. You can do a pre-order there as well. we have been talking about keeping those models going for the entire year. So even if we do return to the square or while we're at Memorial Park, we will still have a pickup option here at the office if we're back to the square, that you can do your pre-orders, because we know that the entire community is not going to, not everybody in the community is going to be comfortable going back to a walk around market. So.
Hi, Ricky. Ricky, this is a great question. That's actually the next question on my list, too. So we're on the same page. I know you're a nonprofit and rely heavily on donors. How can the community support DBI right now?
How can you support DBI? I would say I would expand that a little bit more, and let's start by saying how you can support the community as a whole downtown. Number one, social media is a powerful tool, and if you can just talk about your restaurants and your shops that you appreciate and that you enjoy the most, just getting their name out there, letting your friends, your circles know that a certain store is open and they are doing online ordering or they're doing curbside pickup. Just do anything you can. I would challenge everybody once a day, talk about some business downtown that you appreciate. Whether it's a place that you like to go eat with your families or a place that you like to shop at. Try to get that out there as much as possible. How can you specifically help and support downtown Bentonville? This is a really challenging time for us right now, especially financially, because over 50% of our revenue is generated from experiential events. Mm-hmm. If we have no events, we have no revenue. And this year always starts on the low end because January, February, and March are our quietest months. That's when we're preparing for the farmers market to start in April and First Fridays to start in April. So we brought in very, very little revenue in the first couple months of the year, and now we've brought in practically zero revenue since all of this started. And on top of that, we depend on sponsorships. And right now, corporate sponsorships are very difficult to attract. Sure. Because corporations are concerned about hosting events. And then also corporations have gone through a financial difficulty on their own, and they don't have the marketing budgets that they've had before. So we are kind of getting hit from all sides. If you are in a financial position that you can make a donation, that would be fantastic. And you can go to our website and make a donation directly to DBI. We are a nonprofit, so we depend on the donations. That's what we live on. And if you're a business and you want to kind of get some publicity for your business on our social media platforms, at events, once we get those events started, we're going to very desperately need that revenue to come in. There's been some great partners to deal with. We work with the Walton Family Foundation, the Walmart Foundation. We have partnerships with the Chamber and Visit Bentonville, but it doesn't count for every penny that we need to keep on going.
I think another thing, just to add to that, as we're posting things about businesses mm-hmm. and stories about, I'm going to turn this so it doesn't seem like I'm a ghost over here
on
speaking.
The side.
As we're posting about businesses and telling their stories, if you can once a day share some of those posts and give them additional reach, that just gets those stories out about the locals that are needing a little extra support right now. Another great question, and this happened last night. I believe the Fayetteville City Council passed an ordinance making masks required for employees and customers at businesses. That's something that at this point is not here in Bentonville, mm-hmm. and there's a question there about will that happen?
So we're on calls, like I mentioned, with city leadership and business leaders and community leaders multiple times throughout the week. And the one thing that's really reinforced to us is that we have to wear our masks. Now, Dana and I have both been tested, and we know that we're safe right now, and we're doing this a little bit closer than probably we would even recommend. But for people that are out there, even walking around the square, we have to continue to wear our masks. When we go to restaurants, when we do have events, chances are we're going to require masks at all of our events. We know it's inconvenient. I don't like it. I had to wear a mask for about 8 hours the other day, and it was uncomfortable. But you're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it for your fellow community member. You're keeping that person safe. So I haven't heard of any official action that the city is planning on taking to require masks like Fayetteville has. But it's important to know that there are some state recommendations that are still in play here. If we did host an outdoor event, there are requirements from the state that all attendees need to wear a mask. Restaurants, I believe, are still in a phase where when you enter into that restaurant, up into the point that you have a drink or a beverage or food in front of you, you need to wear your mask. So, it's unfortunate that the mask wearing has turned into almost a political issue. It is, because it's far and beyond a safety issue. And even if you don't necessarily believe in the positive and the proven success of wearing a mask, wear it for your fellow community member, because you don't know if you're passing by somebody who may have a compromised immune system, and you don't want to put anybody at risk of getting sick right now. And that's the thing that we're constantly thinking about. We don't want to put anybody at risk whatsoever. We want to get together as a community. We want to have these events again, but I'm not going to give that pass off where I'm going to put people at risk just to have a First Friday.
If you have any additional questions, go ahead and ask them. There's one more on here, and Derek just wants to know when you're going to run for governor.
Derek is my best friend from Pennsylvania, and I guess, Derek, we would need to figure out which state I was going to run. Right now we have a pretty strong governor in Arkansas that's been out there every single day talking about COVID, and we appreciate the leadership that we've seen.
Just don't forget me when you need a press secretary.
Absolutely,
right?
You'll be the first one.
All right, so thanks for joining us. I know it was a little sideways at first. I'm going to take this offline, edit it so that you can get the clear and concise answers, and feel free to share it later this afternoon when we get it back up on the website. And stay safe.
Stay safe.
We'll chat with you soon.